I'm CBMF Productions, and welcome back to Underrated Films. This series I update once every few months it seems like, but as the time is recording, due to being stuck inside due to COVID-19, I've gotten the chance to catch up on various movies and franchises because there's not much else to do. And since you're probably in the same situation right now watching this, I want to discuss a couple of small horror thrillers on Netflix that outside of the horror community, no one really acknowledges or knows about. And those films are Creep and Creep 2. I stumbled across these films a couple years back due to sheer curiosity, because I heard a lot of great things about them and I'm so glad I checked them out. I'm going to go through a synopsis of both movies, no spoilers though, and then talk about my feelings about both of them simultaneously. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. The first Creep revolves around videographer Aaron, played by Patrick Bryce, who's also the director and co-writer of the film, and average Joe stumbles across an online ad to document a guy for one day in his cabin, isolated in the woods. He goes there and immediately gets suspicious of things, especially when he meets the guy who he's documenting. Joseph, played by Mark Duplass, who also co-wrote the film with Bryce, as he's about to have a kid, but due to a brain tumor that will kill him in a few months before his child would be born, he wants somebody to document him to show his future child who his father was. The rest of the film is this slow burn thriller that documents the day of Joseph and Aaron talking about themselves, Aaron discovering some of Joseph's past and slowly getting more and more freaked out by him, eventually leading to a very bleak and shocking ending that I won't spoil. Creep 2 then picks up soon after the events of the first film, where we once again follow another videographer, Sarah, played by Desiree Avakan, who seeks out Mark Duplass, who now goes by Aaron as a reference to the previous film. When she finds a post about him claiming to be a serial killer, they meet up as Aaron, who explains more about his backstory, and this time being a serial killer as she gets more and more uncomfortable being around him, leading to a very intense ending that I once again won't spoil. Creep and Creep 2 are both great films for a variety of reasons. The biggest things these films have going for them is the ability to use a lot from a little. Both these films are shot on shoestring budgets, both films only having about 2 characters we actually focus on, are set in 1 or 2 isolated locations, and are barely feature length. But that doesn't stop from them being 2 of the most unnerving horror thrillers I've seen in years. Mark Duplass' Joseph, or Aaron, whatever his actual name is fantastic as his very introspective character, constantly keeping you on edge in every single scene due to his ability to be unpredictable. One second he can get his very chill dad-like persona, but in the next scene, he will start putting on a wolf mask and randomly start growling. But these films are carried on his shoulders, and he does a great job of stealing every scene he's in. Another aspect that makes these films stand out is the scares. These films show that you can make anything scary. You don't need loads of CGI or jump scares to be scary, because these films have a very natural way of easing you into the scares, gradually making Mark Duplass more and more threatening. And due to the lack of music in these movies, scenes where you see our characters being chased or even dialogue scenes not only feel real because of the performances, but because of how creepy, no pun intended, that Mark Duplass gives information, revealing more and more about himself, keeping you on the edge of your seat. Also, speaking of one aspect I've not mentioned yet is the found footage aspect. This style, although it isn't very popular anymore, is very hit or miss. When it's done well with the pioneers like Blair Witch, Cloverfield, and Wreck, it can give a very personal and unexpected look at the horror genre, feeling as if you're with the characters, and the Creep films do that exceptionally well. They really are a nice double feature to watch. Doesn't matter if you're just getting into horror movies or if you're a horror veteran, these films provide something fairly unique that I haven't seen in any other major horror film or franchise. It really shows how much only a few people can do when their minds and hearts are in the right place for making films. Considering, as I said before, how Mark Duplass and Patrick Bryce wrote both films, with Bryce directing and Mark Duplass starring in both films, I can definitely see this inspire upcoming filmmakers, because these are the type of films that anybody can make at home, which isn't meant as an insult. Overall, both these films are really entertaining through a rise. They are definitely much watchers if you're interested in these type of movies. If I had to pick which one was better, I will say the first one is slightly better, because it does introduce a style of this world that will once again be used in the sequel. Along with the structure of how these films play out, it does make Creep 2 a little worse because it's more of the same, but I will say many of the best scenes in both films come from Creep 2. The standout being the opening scene of the film featuring Karan Soni, Dopender from Deadpool himself. That easily is one of my favorite cold opens in any horror film. Each of these films have their respective strengths, and I can't wait for Creep 3, which currently is in the writing stages, with Duplass recently commenting on the film, saying how he and Bryce are trying to come up with a good idea for the story, since their first couple ideas and drafts haven't been working out so far. This gives me massive hope because it does show that whatever they come up with, it will at least be something good, and Creep 3 won't just be a cash grab sequel. It is currently unknown when it will come out, and especially with the times we're living in, as the time is recording, so much of the film process and production have just been delayed. My guess will probably be in the fall of next year is when Creep 3 will drop, although I would love for it to come out this Halloween, and it could be done possibly, because how small these films are in scale, but at the same time, I don't want the film to be rushed into production, especially since it's meant to be the end of the series. Not like we haven't heard that before, but I do believe this will be the final installment, and I don't want to suffer from the trilogy curse of being the bad or the weakest in the series, but I guess we'll find out sometime soon. I give both Creep films an A, a 9.5 out of 10, and a must-watch recommendation. So that wraps up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I'm CBM Productions, signing out.